I am voicing a Kenya Lowe video again on YouTube, and this one's entitled Work. So my first job I ever had was at JCPenney's. I had to really practice a lot for that job. I remember to get to work, I drove my really ugly old family car. I can't even remember what kind of car it was. But it was the kind of car that most grandmas drove. I was always embarrassed when I took my car places and we'd walk out to my car and I would have to tell people that was my car. But I started working at JCPenney because I really needed money. Growing up, I got an allowance for cleaning the house and doing things around the house. My parents actually decided to set up like a community fund, so I didn't get just allowance for myself. My brothers and sisters also did, and we just put it in a big bowl. And we used that money if we went out to the movies or went out to dinner on Friday night. So, and if we did something bad, like if we failed something in school or something like that, the money got taken out of the community fund. So we decided to have a community fund instead of getting individual money, so we could do things as a family. So I had that car, which meant it was my responsibility. And it's not like I could always have fun. So I remember on Saturdays I had to go to the grocery store and I had to get all the stuff on the grocery list. I had to take my brothers to their sport competitions and practices after school. My mom would always call me and tell me to pick up my brother or sister and to go run errands. If I had to take other family members to work, I had to do that. Things like that. So it's not like I always had fun all the time when I was driving a car. So when I was in school and out and about, I didn't have any interpreters. So I, of course, had to lip read in order to understand people. So when I was at JCPenney, I worked in the women's department. Interpreter era, I worked in the men's department. And I would have to help people find ties and suits and do suit measurements and find shoes and things like that. So sometimes if another department was short on workers, I would go and work in another department, but I was mainly in the men's department. I think at that time I was about 20 because I graduated high school and then I moved to Lansing. So instead of always going to school and then coming home and going to church, I thought, oh, I wanted to work. So that's why I got that job. It was an interesting job. So during the summer I worked at Camp Chris. I can't remember how old I was when I started that job. But there were a lot of things that I got to do at that camp. I got to teach young campers and educate them. My parents told me that when I was in college for my first year, I couldn't work. I needed to focus on my studies. You know, they said your first year is going to be your hardest. And I was getting scholarships, and I needed to keep those, and I needed to do my best to get good grades. So after that, I worked at a restaurant called Jack's Boat. So the restaurant was on a boat. A lot of times it was really popular. People would have their wedding parties on this boat, and It was really easy. I would just take people's orders and I would bring them the food. So when I first started that, my boss thought that I wasn't ready for that kind of position. So they put me in the back in the kitchen and I washed dishes. So there was one day when one of the servers were just really sick and they needed another server. And so they weren't too thrilled about it, but they gave me another try. And I was just really excited for the opportunity. So I was trying to like observe people from the back of the boat. So when I had this opportunity, I actually knew what I was doing. So I can remember everybody who got on this boat were just really dressy. And there was a wedding party. And I was serving the food, and I remember having a towel over my hand, and I was serving people champagne. And once their glasses were empty, it was my job to go top them off. And of course I couldn't hear them, so I would hold one drink up and point to it, see if they wanted that, and then I would hold another drink up and point to it as well. And it was really exciting because I did a really good job and people commented on that, so I was very excited about that. So I had that job, and then I actually was a janitor, which was a terrible job. I had it for like 3 or 4 years in college, and I hate cleaning, so I don't even know why I thought that would be a good job. It was gross. I don't recommend that. You have to wear gloves and you have to clean everywhere, and it's gross. And you work nights. So I would not recommend working as a janitor, ever.